me, Renee. I'm back. And as you can see, today we have the Easter book tag. Came out a few years ago. I did it a few years ago and decided, you know what? I'm gonna redo it. Because funs, tags are fun to redo. So, yeah, here I am doing it. It was created by, give me a little moment. I'm just gonna double check it. And I forgot to, give me a moment. Created by Rosie the Reader, and I'll link her original tag down below. And yeah, let's get to it. Simply as that. So the first prompt is, you know what? I'm just going to use this one. Give me a little moment. There. A book you wanted a sequel to. Now I have some of these books because I feel like you can either have a book that's a standalone and you kind of feel like it's perfect as standalone, and some books are kind of some books you kind of want more from. I have some of those, though I've both them away. Well, the ones I thought of at the same time at first, anyway. But I managed to think about one book. Well, one book. I'm extra, in case you don't know. So for this question, I end up thinking of two books. And they're actually, I didn't think of before now. Well, yeah, they're actually the same theme. I suppose this may be more me wanting more of these books. No, I want more for these authors. Yeah. Anyway, and yeah, you know what I'm gonna say? Like, sometimes you have like a good standalone. You kind of want it to be more because you don't. I mean, any more book you kind of want to be more because if you have a book, you finish it, you think like, okay, fine. Well, that means it's not that good of a book. But if you end it and you think, I want to read more from these people, well, then it means that the book did its job. And sometimes that feeling is so big that you need a sequel. And yeah, here are my two suggestions. One, Valkyrie Rising by Ingrid Portsen. So this actually has a prequel novella, but does not have a sequel. It is good as a standalone. It is. I suppose maybe because like everything ends and all that, but I suppose it kind of in a way it opens up for more because there's like introduction to like a lot of things that could happen, but like you kind of have to think like, and then in the future after this book, she manages it all. It all goes well. But I feel like you could write more in this universe. So yeah. And honestly, I feel like the author has just written 2 or 3 more books, so I don't really know what happened to that. But yeah, anyway, in case you don't really know, I suppose you might not have guessed, it's called Valkyrie Rising. It is about Norse mythology, and it's about some people who are Valkyries, modern-day Valkyries. It's one of my favorite books. Also, um, just spoiler alert, I'm gonna be a bit contrary here. I started rereading it last year and I haven't gotten like finished it. So that's kind of weird because when I say it's one of my favorite books, I started rereading it and then other shiny books. I mean that could be the underline of my biography, shiny books, because I'm distracted by all the shiny books. But yeah, I still really very much enjoy this book so much. Um, it has a lot of the tropes I really enjoy. It has friends to lovers. It has brother's best friend to lovers. Well, within the same thingy, but yeah. Uh, but also Norse mythology, which doesn't really happen that much in books. You have them in movies now and then, and TV series now and then, but in books, not that often really. I feel like, I mean, there's Persephone retellings and Hercules retellings and yeah, lots of Greek retellings, but Norse mythology, that's not really that often. So yeah. Anyway, yeah, there is great standalone, and it's very funny. I just love this story, and it's also set in Norway, which is yeah, in my heart. It's set outside Bergen, and it's just beautiful setting, all that kind of stuff. I mean, you can just see the. You might think this cover is kind of made up. I suppose it might be, but it could also be true because they are that kind of sort of big, majestic mountains in a way close to Bergen. So yeah. But yeah, I kind of wanted, kind of want a sequel to this one. That was maybe, I suppose you could do like a companion book because I mean, when you do sequels to standalones, well, I suppose when you do sequels, whenever you kind of have to have a conflict because a book needs a conflict. And if a book ends with a bow or like ends satisfactorily, then you kind of need to give these people a conflict to handle. So you kind of, in a way, I suppose, in a way, don't want them to have another. But I suppose you kind of do because you love these characters, you want to see more of them. So yeah, just kind of more in this Valkyrie Rising universe, I think would just be very cool. And yeah, I'm not quite sure if it's still out like in bookstores because it came out 2012, so 10, well, 11 years ago. But I suppose you could. I'm thinking probably still find it in books in like used bookstores online, and also still find it in what's the name again, libraries. So if you want to check it out, go to those places. So yeah, but yeah, as I said, I have a second option for this as well, which is a Norwegian book. Who did, which I also just talked about in another video by Christine Tofte. This is, as I said, the same kind of theme where it's based around Norse mythology, but this is also based outside of big city. But this is based in a farm, all takes place during one weekend. And the thing with this book is that it's based on like the farm has like Norse mythology creatures, so it's like pigs that fly and yeah, those kinds of stuff. And yeah, he kind of main character kind of have to takes care of these animals for one weekend and shenanigans ensue. And yeah, like the main thing about this is like him versus the animals in a way. So it's not like Loki. No, I don't really think Loki has like. I think Loki has like a small part in this book, but it's not like a big part. Like the what's the word again? The gods, they're in the periphery, but they're not really in the main cast of this book, which I think it's kind of cool to like use the Norse mythology, but don't focus on the gods. And yeah, I suppose I like it as is, but yeah, I think a sequel to this one would be quite fun. Really, I would enjoy it so much. So yeah, those two I feel like are great books and that could very much have sequels. I believe I have another video when I have talked about this one. Maybe like this idea of like standalones that need sequels. Maybe I don't because I have a few more that I kind of want. I suppose I'll check it out because if I do, I might. Well, I'll link it, and if not, I'm gonna make it because yeah, I have some more thoughts on some books. So yep. And then the next prompt is a book that surprised you. So I suppose I've read books for a long time and like, well, surprised me in a good way, in a bad way. Like, how surprised you? Because it could like be a surprise that you laughed a lot or that you didn't laugh. Or it's a lot of ways you can answer this question for. I ended up going with Fire by Kirsten Kashor because two reasons. It's a high fantasy. So I suppose even though like some of my favorite books are high fantasy, yes, mostly I tend to lean towards urban fantasy, or like yeah, fantasy based in our world, so, like historical, but like based on our history and all that kind of stuff. So for me to enjoy a high fantasy, I kind of it's not it doesn't happen that often really. But yeah, this though it is the sequel. Well, it's a sequel. Okay, it was published after, but it's about the story before Graceling. So it's in Graceling universe, and yeah, it was published after Graceling, but it happened before, and I very much enjoyed Graceling. So I kind of wanted to check out this one. I found out this happened. Like, found this happened. This existed. I got it, and lo and behold, I enjoyed it much more than Graceling. This, to this day, is my favorite in the Graceling series. Still haven't read the fifth one, but yeah. And yeah, I suppose it has some of the same elements as Graceling does, but I feel like, you know what, I kind of like the main character Fire a bit more. Catsa is a bit more prickly, but yeah, I kind of like the main character here more. So yeah, I suppose that kind of gives it. And yeah, I just love it so much. It kind of makes you think about like And also the tagline is like, what makes a monster? Is a monster born or is a monster made? Because Fire, the main character in this one, is technically a monster. She's half human, half creature, and she's kind of thought of as a monster by her the people in her village in her world. But and I like her, she was brought up by a dad who was not the best dad. But then again, her actions are nice and good. So like, what makes a monster? So I suppose that's kind of like interesting philosophical question. And yeah, so yeah, check out Gracing Fire if you haven't, or of course the whole Gracing universe really. Alright, and then we have a book that's hard to get, which honestly I kind of skipped this one because none of the books are really that hard to get. I mean, yeah, some of my books are older books, but I just find them randomly in used bookstores. I will also work in a bookstore, so like if a book isn't printing and done, then it's reprinting a few months after. So it's not really the books I have. I won't really say that any of them are hard to get. So yeah, I'm not really that into antique books and books like that. There are some books I want that I haven't gotten ahead of yet, but I'm yeah, because I'm probably gonna end up getting it used. But yeah, but they're not books I own at the moment. So yeah, skipping this question. Sorry. And then a children's book you still enjoy. So I suppose I still very much like in general read YA books. But I suppose and some people talk about like children's books as children and YA. I decided to go literally. You know what? But yeah, I decided to go literally with this question and go with children's book. So I'm going here with a book that I loved as a kid, but yeah, still love today. Honestly, I would say this book actually my favorite. Well, I suppose sorry, my first favorite book, like in my life. I read this, like it was also I suppose maybe also my still first fandom. I suppose how do you define fandom? Well, me and my best friends all loved these books, and we read the books, we listened to the audiobooks, we were obsessed by these books, and for a long time it was just part of my childhood. And then I was sick when I was 16, 17. And I thought, you know what? I kind of want to pick up this book again. And I did. And it just delighted me so much. So now, I suppose, yeah, I haven't, well, no, actually, I reread some of them a few years ago because it's part of a series. But yeah, I haven't reread the whole series in a while. But still, it's just, yeah, I love it so, so much. Sadly, it's not a book. I might be wrong. Yeah. I think it's not out in English. I might be wrong. Yeah, but I think it's not available in English. Sorry. But it is Satsiki Omutan or the Satsiki series. So it's I don't know what I want to say chapter book. Well, I would say it's a book like it's meant for like it's one of those book series where the main character kind of grows up from every book. So every book takes place in a different year. So the first book, this one, takes place in first grade, and then there's five books. So the last book takes place in fifth grade. So in the first one, he starts school. He's six because we start school at six over here, and then in the last one, he's 10 because well, is it 10? Well, 10, 11, yeah, around that age. And yeah, they're I'll say it's mainly like a funny series. It's not like a crime series or mystery series. It's not like a drama series. Mainly, it's his just kind of meeting the world and just kind of having a huge imagination, and it's just very funny. Like in this first one, he ends up spying on his teacher because his teacher kind of looks like an alien, so he kind of has to spy on the teacher. So he and a friend of him they follow the teacher, they stalk the teacher, and they end up going after the teacher in a clothing store, and they end up being attacked by the bros in the store, and it's hilarious. It's just so fun. I laughed so much as a kid, and yeah, I laughed still so much when laugh still so much when I reread it. I suppose maybe yeah, I suppose there are at least in this version there's pictures here and there, but I suppose they're not that big pictures. So I suppose yeah. Sorry guys, me commenting about the book that it's so amazing. But probably people won't get to enjoy it because you don't speak read Norwegian or Swedish, because this is a Swedish author's book. But I think maybe it's out in English because it was huge at one time. Like it was huge. Like everyone talked about it. I feel like in the 90s. There was also two movies based on it. So I suppose not every book gets a movie. So yeah, there were two movies based on them. And yeah. And then the next prompt is a cover that makes you think of spring. This was, I feel like, a bit difficult, but I end up going with Save the Date by Morgan Matson. So, like, I suppose you could guess, the book is all about a wedding, which weddings are very spring-like. I haven't been to that many weddings. Like, the weddings I've been to have been in summer, but like, spring is like a known time for weddings. And also, like, spring to me is kind of like when you can smell the grass when the flowers are coming back in. Here is just grass, but like yeah, the smell of grass, freshly cut grass, and just grass. It's just so spring and summerish. So I feel like yeah, this is kind of springish. And yeah, and also yeah, of course, Morgan Matson, highly recommend her. Then the next prompt is a religious book or a spiritual book, and this one I'm also gonna because I don't have any of those. I'm not that religious, and none of the books I own are. I suppose I could have in theory owned a non-fiction book about religion because of those talks about St. Valentine's in non-fiction. But I don't think I don't have any of those. So no, I'm gonna skip it. Simply as that. Then the next prompt is a book from a deceased author. Here I'm gonna go with Jane Eyre by sorry, by Charlotte Bronte. So yeah, she lived in the 1800s, so she's long dead. And yeah, I very much love this cover and this edition also. It's just so beautiful. I got it at a flea market. It's published in 1946, so yeah, probably the oldest published published book I have. And yeah, also kind of funny story. As I said before, I'm a bit quirky and weird. Yeah. Um, this I would like if people ask me like, do you have a favorite book that was like if they're gonna talk to me about favorite books from like 1800s or like favorite book like from 100 years ago, I would mention Jane Eyre because I read it a long time ago. I loved it. I still haven't reread it. I suppose some people do have favorite books I don't reread. Me, I mostly reread my favorite books. I still haven't reread this one, but I've seen lots of adaptations of it. I really also like retellings of it. So I suppose, yeah, yeah. And then we have, yeah, give a moment. So the next prompt is a book on your wish list. I kind of have to just double check because there's a lot of books on my wish list. I end up going with Going by Coastal by Dolly Adler. It's coming up this year. I don't remember if it's coming out. Has come. No, I think it's coming out in May. Yeah, yeah. Anyway, it's kind of like this multiverse. Yeah, kind of multiverse storyline. Like if you've seen not Silence. My God, this is blanking out. That Gwyneth Paltrow movie from the 90s. Oh, that's blanking out. God, that's annoying. You know what? I'm gonna check it out. What is it again? What is it called? No, it's not Silence. I'm just checking out. I know it's a bit weird now, but just what is what is that movie I'm thinking about? Sliding Doors. Sliding Doors. Yeah, that 90s movie that I feel some people have heard of, some people haven't. But yeah, it's kind of that sliding door scenario where the main character in Going by Coastal, she makes a choice, and then the book kind of goes tells the story of what happened if she did that choice and what happened. Well, she has to do a choice. and the book goes with like what happens if just that, and what happens if just that. And so yeah, and one of them, I suppose, going by coastal, one of them takes her to Los Angeles, one of them takes her to New York during one summer. I feel like it's summer. It's a year. I feel like it's summer. Anyway, it has a beautiful cover, and yeah, excited to get reading that one. So yeah, that one is quite is very much on my wish list. Quite on my wish list. Anyway, and then we have next prompt. The next prompt. Yeah, next and last prompt. A book that's sweet. Which, yeah, I feel like I almost talk about this when it's like sweet book you talk about, but it is quite sweet. It is a heroine's complex by Sarah Kuhn, the first in a 6-book series. And yeah, I mean, the cover just kind of says all. It's just so charming and colorful and nice. The superheroes, there's cupcakes with mouths. I mean, it is kind of like, I suppose, a friend of mine says it's kind of like Buffy, but in book form, which is supposed kind of true. Though, spoiler alert, confession time. I've never been that much of a Buffy fan, really. I liked it enough, but I'm not loving it. But yeah, this one I love very, very much. So yeah, that, my dear friends, is the Easter book tag. If you enjoyed it, tag your it. Simple as that. And I hope you have a nice Easter, or uh, are having a nice Easter because you're seeing this on Friday, which is part of the Easter vacation time. I suppose depends on where you are in the world. I suppose maybe you don't celebrate Easter. If you do, then you're probably on vacation. Or I suppose maybe you're watching this after the vacation. But yeah, I hope you have a nice day, evening, or whatever, wherever you are. And I'll see you soon. Bye.